Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is a rabbit hair jig. It's going to be something similar than what I've done in the past, but there's going to be a little bit of different take with this. In the vise we have a 1/8 ounce football head jig. You can see I clipped a little barb off there because we're not going to need it. It's not going to use a trailer or anything. It's painted black and it is a size 1 Eagle Claw 570 black platinum. So we're going to start off here with some black 210 denier flat wax nylon thread, as always. And we're going to wrap this all the way down to the point of the hook. And now I'm going to take it and wrap it. We're going to wrap it back up to the collar here. The first thing we're going to use, this is going to be black and chartreuse, but it's going to be real subtle. This is frosted tip. If you could see that, it has a little bit of chartreuse on the tips. And this is a regular cut zonker strip that I cut, and we're going to start right here at the base of the collar for the tail. And we want this about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter, somewhere around there past the bend of the hook. We don't want it to be real long because we want this just to kind of make a little bit longer profile but not too long. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to start it right at the bottom of that collar there. Now you could do this on a collarless jig. If I was doing it on a collarless jig, I would run it all the way up to the head. And my vise seems to be out of sync a little bit. Hold on. There. Got loose on me. I apologize for that. So now you want to make sure this rabbit hide is down really nice. This is a very easy jig to tie. The next thing we're going to do is something where it's different for me than normal, is cross-cut rabbit hair. Normally I just use this regular cut rabbit zonker, but on this jig I'm using the cross-cut, and two reasons. Number one, this material works really good with the cross-cut. It seems to, for some reason, I think they used a longer hair to make these frosted tip ones. And the other reason is because it's a dark jig like this particular pattern, I like it to be a little less bulky. And the cross-cut material works great for bodies. When you wrap it, it stays closer than what the regular cut zonker does. The regular cut, when you wrap it, it tends to want to puff out a little bit. This here stays closer to the body. That's one of the reasons I'm using it. One of the reasons I also go with the regular zonkers rather than buying two different materials is frugality. That's another reason I use regular cut. But in this pattern, I like using the cross cut. So another thing here before I start, as you can see at the end here, what I did was I pulled some of the hair off to give me a bare strip to start tying to, because I don't want the hair overlapping. So I'm going to take this strip, this bare part here, and I'm going to tie it in nice and tight before I start wrapping my zonker. And we're going to work our way all the way up to the collar. And now I'm going to start wrapping. This is really nice long hair they use for this. Some zonker strips, depending on what you get, the quality isn't great and the hair doesn't go down as far, which isn't like I said, one of the reasons I don't always use the cross cut. The regular zonkers work just fine, but in this case, this stuff is really good. And as you can see, I'm just about at the head. I pre-measured this out, And you want to stop right before you get to the head with this version. And you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to hold it there. And I'm going to tie it off. And we'll cut. The other thing too with this cross cut, a lot of guys might like it. You don't have to be as careful cutting when you cut this like you do a regular zonker. If you take a regular zonker and you just cut the end off, you'll square the hair up here and you pretty much ruin the strip. So what you want to do with the regular cut is just cut the hide. But on this you could cut right across and it's not going to hurt it, because the hair's already squared off to begin with. And for those that don't understand that, the hair runs with the material. In fact, I got some packages here. This is cross-cut. And you see how the strip goes and the hair falls straight down. And then you take the regular zonker, the hair runs with the hide. That's the difference. This makes a great tailing material. The crosscut is great for bodies. So now we're going to just finish wrapping up our collar here, and then we're going to put our little twist on. Now, if you want to, you could be finished with this jig at this point. This is perfectly fine. It's a good rabbit hair jig. But I always like to put a little spin on things, so what I'm going to do is take some chartreuse barred neck hackle, and I will put links to the in the description to the material. Very easy thing to acquire. Just a little strip. This is one of the broader hairs, and I cut it to right where the stem starts to thin out a little bit. And I'm going to tie it in, but not by the tip. I'm going to tie it in by the base, the back end of it, just because I want the longer fibers from that feather to come out first, because I'm not going to put a lot of wraps. It's not going to be a lot of feather on this. And I'm going to use a hackle plier. Make another wrap just to be sure. Didn't like the way that was hanging. Sometimes you could tell when a feather hangs that it's not going to wrap right. So what you do is make a wrap of thread in front and behind the hackle. So now I'm going to wrap this. Just a couple. And that is good. And we'll tie it off there. I'll cut the end of this. And if you have enough tip left, this isn't enough, but if you have enough, you can actually save them for crappy jigs. So I'm going to fold that down with my fingers, and I'm going to tie back to the original collar length. Now, is this going to make any difference? I don't know. It doesn't hurt, but things like this could be the difference of getting that extra bite, you know, in a day that's not going so good. That's why I like doing this custom stuff, because you can do whatever you want, whatever you feel like, experiment. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. In the case of this jig, I know for a fact it works. I use it a good bit. So we're going to whip finish. One more time. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Trim off our thread. Take a little bit of head cement here, and I'm going to apply this with a bodkin, because I don't want to get any on the feather. That's all we need. And we are done, and I'll show you what we got here. That is it. That is the frost tip rabbit hair jig. Very simple, very easy. It's nothing new, nothing we haven't really covered, but it is different in that I used the cross-cut material and I added the feather collar. This really makes it stand out in the water. If you got any kind of stain, this variation of the rabbit hair jig, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.